There's going to be somebody there looking him in the face and letting him know that this isn't going away anytime soon. This is just the beginning.
Relief after nearly 7 weeks of investigation, an arrest in the murders of Kaylee Gonsalves, Maddie Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. So who is Bryan Kohberger, the man charged with the crimes, and did he know the victims? I'm Angenette Levy, and welcome to this special edition of Law and Crime Sidebar podcast, coming to you from Moscow, Idaho. Bryan Kohberger will be brought back to Idaho to answer to those murder charges. He is a 28-year-old Washington State University student who is studying criminal justice and criminology just a short distance from here. Kohberger is accused of murdering those 4 University of Idaho students last November in a house near campus. Deputies led Kohberger into court in Monroe County, Pennsylvania, Tuesday morning. He's waiving extradition to Idaho, where he will face murder charges. His public defender, Jason Labar, telling me that Kohberger hopes to be exonerated. Last Friday, police executed a search warrant at Kohberger's apartment in Pullman, near the Washington State University campus. That university is just 10 miles from Moscow, Idaho. I talked to a neighbor who lives downstairs from Kohberger, and she told me she had really never met him, only to say hi, and only learned his name last Friday after that search warrant was executed. Did you ever hear anything up there or anything like that?
Yeah, we heard, we heard loud sounds during the night.
Yeah.
Many times.
Yeah.
Not just once, and so it seemed like he's a night person, not do a lot of things during the day, but during the night he's very active.
Right.
To like clean the floor sometimes with vacuum. It's very loud sound.
Kohberger was a teaching assistant in undergrad classes at Washington State University. One student who wanted to remain anonymous told me that Kohberger was a really tough grader, and that the professor in the class that he was acting as a teaching assistant in would tell him things like, be nice. So they described him as being kind of standoffish. And this student told me she really only saw him in class between 3 and 4 times. Now, before Kohberger moved to Washington State in August of 2022, he actually studied at DeSales University in Pennsylvania. That's where he's from. And he earned a master's degree there. He also received a bachelor's degree from DeSales. One of his undergraduate classmates wanted to remain anonymous as well when speaking with me, and told me that Kohberger didn't socialize with others in the program and didn't take part in activities such as the Criminal Justice Club. Kohberger also took a class that other criminal justice undergraduate students took, and that was a class focused on serial killers. That class was taught by Dr. Catherine Ramsland. She still teaches it to this day. She is a renowned forensic expert, and she has been a guest on Sidebar. She's a forensic psychologist, and she has said to us that she is not making any statements to the media at this time. Meanwhile, the family of Kaylee Gonsalves is relieved by news of the arrest, but they are still grieving, as you can imagine.
Things have changed in some aspect of it, is that they have a person that they've arrested, but the loss of their daughter hasn't changed. The loss that she was murdered and all of those things, that hasn't changed at all. And now you have to have hope. You had hope that they would get an arrest. Now you have to have hope that they're going to get a conviction, that they've done all the things that they needed to do, that they dotted their I's and crossed their T's, and they have evidence that will come in, and we'll get a good hard evidence on this individual.
That is attorney Shannon Gray, and he has been representing the Gonsalves family for several weeks now, helping them navigate this entire process. He said that the Gonsalves family does not know Bryan Kohberger. It's not somebody they recognize, but they're looking to see whether or not he has any connection to Kaylee.
Now that we have a name and we have a person, all the families are going to be looking for connections between all of the victims. So, and if we find any connections between Kaylee or Maddie or Ethan or Xana or any of those, the victims in the case, we'll be relaying all of that information over to the Moscow Police Department. And we're going to allow the Moscow Police Department to determine if they release any information regarding those connections. And I think the Moscow Police Department is really asking from the public, now that there's a face and a name, that get as much information as you can to us about this guy, right? about his habits, things that he was doing, all that stuff, still asking for community help. So
just because an arrest has been made, it doesn't mean that the investigation is over. Police here in Moscow are still investigating with the assistance of Idaho State Police and the FBI.
And I would just, I would just encourage anybody that's out there that's to continue with the leads and the tips to the Moscow Police Department to, to help them gather, additional circumstantial evidence that might be able to help in the investigation and those types of things. And because I feel like it was the community that helped solve this crime. It was a community involvement. I mean, it was, the guy was from Pullman, right? He was nine miles away and just over the border. And so, I don't know the details of it, but I'd be fairly certain and confident that it was the community that helped solve this crime and helped with the leads and the tips in the investigation. So
Moscow police are asking anybody with information about the homicide investigation or Bryan Kohberger to come forward and provide that information to them either through the tip line or by email. I'm Angenette Levy, and you are watching Sidebar here on Law and Crime, coming to you from Moscow, Idaho.